things that he tells you to do that don't seemingly seem like they're successful, it wasn't so much the attack of the enemy on the podcast not getting out. It was the attack of the enemy on my belief system, my trust and my faith in God, but my trust and my faith in myself. But it was because God will cause all things to work together. It was causing me to be more persistent than I've ever been, to pursue in a way that I never pursued. When you stand on my word and my command, if it's not turning out the way you think it's going to be turning out, if you're not yielding the results that you think you should yield, if it feels familiar, if it feels like the last time when you feel like you lost or you didn't succeed, will you continue? What's up, DBP fam? Welcome back to another episode of the Digital Becoming Podcast. I am your host, your sister, your friend, your auntie, your transformation coach, Coach Nick. Different setup today, different look. As you saw from the title, this is the season 1 finale episode. And I just wanted it to be just as real and raw as all of the episodes have been this season. Today is going to be a reflection of everything that has taken place here in season 1. I want to thank all of my day ones, everyone who has been here with me since I uploaded my first one. I believe it was April the 9th. But by the time I did all the edits and talked myself into releasing it, because if y'all watched it, you know I cried the entire episode. Hence the reason why I am not dressed up today with an ounce of makeup on, because I feel like it's going to be one of those. I talked myself into releasing it by April the 9th. And whoa, what a ride this has been. I don't have a drink of the day because I just guzzled down an entire bottle of water. I woke up so dehydrated. Y'all ever wake up sometimes and you are so parched and dehydrated, it feels like you slept not only with your mouth wide open all night, but like you were out there in the desert sleeping? I digress. This blanket that I have with me, a really great friend of mine gave to me right after my promise Nicole passed away. And she got it because I'm a texture person. I love textures. I'm into soft things. But this looks like my promise Nicole. It's black and it's soft. And she told me when she gave it to me, this is for you on the days when it gets hard. You can hold it. You can wrap yourself up in it when you are really missing her. See, I knew it was going to be one of those episodes. Ugh. And it is that time of the year for me. Some people have dogs. Some people have pets. That was my daughter. That was my baby girl for 13 years. We had traditions and routines. This time of the year, we would be on this couch eating popcorn together, watching movies. She'd be sitting up in my lap or laying up on my chest, watching movies together. This time of the year, I would have been making dressing, cornbread dressing. Baby, that chick needed all the corners or the middle piece. She loved cornbread. So this is it's only been what, 4 months? 4 months on tomorrow. It's 4 months tomorrow that she's been gone. And I literally have been pressing through a lot of days. This is my first holiday season coming up without her. And yeah, so I am navigating these waters. And I know this is not what the episode is about, but it is what the episode is about, actually. It's what has the first season of doing my solo podcast been like for me? And y'all, I'm about to get into all of the tea with that. Plus, I'm going to talk about some of my favorite things. I'm going to talk about some lessons that I've learned, some lessons that I've learned from making mistakes, and some areas where I definitely need to improve. So let's go ahead and jump right on into it. Oh, before we do that, I thank y'all so much for praying for me through that season. Oh, when she passed away, thank y'all so much for praying for me. Okay, this is not the first time that I've done a solo podcast. The first time I did it, the podcast was called The Obstacle Overcomer. But at that time, that was the only podcast that I was doing. Podcasting was new. Everybody and their mama was not doing podcasting. So there was a huge learning curve. Like, it was so much to learn. It was actually called internet radio then. I was not wearing as many hats as I wear now. That was the only podcast that I was doing. And because it was so new and exciting, I jumped into that thing whole body first and didn't realize, there would be moments when it would feel like I was drowning. And for more on that, please go back and watch the very first episode. But I'm saying all that to say, when the Lord told me that it's time to do something new, to do daily becoming, I was in the process of ending a 3-season run on another podcast called Their POV with Nick and King. Shout out to you, King. It was an amazing podcast. Oh my God. The community built around that podcast is like none other. And I love them so much. They actually followed me over to my next podcast project, which was the Queen's Takeover podcast. So I was ending one and heading into another one. We were in season 3 when God told me to start the Daily Becoming podcast. I just thought, okay, cool. But God, I'm scared because of what happened the last time. And again, more details on that in the first episode. But I said, okay, I can do this. I'll record on this day. I'll edit and upload on this day. I'll release content and promos on these days. And bada bing, bada boom. Well, I will never say having a plan is not a good thing. Having a plan is an amazing thing. Be prepared to pivot, be prepared to recalibrate. And I've learned for me in my planning to allow pauses, to allow purpose to come in for pauses, to allow purpose to come in for planning, and to allow purpose to come in to push me in different directions. With that being said, it's like once I hit the submit button on episode number 1, woo wee, girlfriend was on that roller coaster. And life was still life. Don't not do what God is telling you to do over life because of what life is doing. Child, life is going to be life. In the work that I do as a housing commissioner, in the work that I'm doing as host of the Queen's Takeover podcast, the work that I'm doing as a minister, and the work that I'm doing just in my personal life, along with some other things. I had to have a learning curve on not just how to manage it all well, but how to be well while I managed it. I'm grateful to you all for navigating those waters with me. Here's what I love about the DBP family. Y'all know how to holler at a sister, be like, so what's up? Because what's going on an episode? If I didn't upload every week and there was a week that I needed to skip because there was a lot of things going on the other side, I was hearing from y'all, and I appreciate that in ways that I can't even describe. Not only was that a level of accountability for me, it reminded me that this is far bigger than me, far greater than me, and that what God was giving me to give was, no, is valuable, and people needed it. I had people that would message, text me. They were calling. Like, what's up? You good? You straight? What's going on? I'm so eternally grateful for that. Because in the beginning, I believe like the first episode was a pre-record. Then I did a 1 month series that was live. And it didn't have a lot of views. It didn't have a lot of interaction and participation. So I started doubting. I started doubting myself. And I started doubting if I heard from God and did I need to do this? Was it even meant to do? Even the things that He tells you to do that don't seemingly seem like they're successful or that they're serving a purpose, they do. Because those things weren't necessarily about y'all, they were about me. They were about me trusting God, and they were about me. Will you continue in what I tell you to do if it doesn't look like you think it's gonna look? Will you stand on what I told you? Will you stand on my word and my command if it's not turning out the way you think it's gonna be turning out? If you're not yielding the results that you think you should yield. If it feels familiar, if it feels like the last time when you feel like you lost or you didn't succeed, will you continue? I had to answer that over and over and over. There were days when the reason why you didn't get a new episode for the week would be because the episode, while I'm editing, I would be maybe more than half of the way through. The computer would crash. It would lose the already edited footage. There were times it would not upload. Y'all, anything that you could think of that was happening in the background was happening. And with my schedule, like my window of getting it edited and getting it uploaded was so short. I'd be celebrating, oh my God, I got this done, I got this edit. Bad boy would not upload. Or it would take the loading process days. But it was also my sign that it was going to be a powerful episode as well. But I digress. Well, no, I don't digress. Like when the attack was that hard, when the fight was that much. But then too, I had to learn it wasn't so much, okay, God, you take this episode how you want to take it. It wasn't so much the attack of the enemy on the podcast not getting out. It was it was the attack of the enemy on my belief system, my trust and my faith in God, but my trust and my faith in myself. But it was because God will cause all things to work together. It was causing me to be more persistent than I've ever been, to pursue in a way that I never pursued. I remember for one episode, I cried at the computer for about 3 days straight. The first day, for 12 hours, I sat there because I had so many back to back meetings that were about to take place. That was my only time to get it done. And everything from my computer wouldn't turn on to the computer crashing to the editing software would not take the video to I get it on there and I have it almost completely done. It loses like when I everything that could. And I just kept saying, God, if you want me to do this, why do you call me out into the deeper waters and then you let me drown? I done a whole episode talking about my fear of this. And look at this. Finally, after like hour number 13, my butt was it was like dead at that moment. It felt like I got up to finally eat, hadn't eaten. I was delirious. I was exhausted. And I just said, I'll get up 5 o'clock in the morning before the meetings begin and I'll just get this done. Before I started, I prayed, I declared, I laid hands on my computer. I did all the things you're supposed to do. And there I was again. And I had to walk away at about 9 o'clock because, again, I had work to do. And I thought about the episode the whole day and I said, maybe I'm just not hearing from God. Or if I got to go through all of this, why do it? Just keep hosting the Queen's Takeover with Sierra, and God will give me something else to do. Because this can't be God. It just can't be. But y'all, I said all of that to say, I realize, and I know this is somebody's sign, this is a word for you. I realize the prettiest flowers, the prettiest plants are the ones that the sower takes the time to till the soil. The sower takes the time to really plant the flower, to repot the plant. They take the time to water. They talk to it. Some people sing to their plants. They make sure it gets enough sunlight. They make sure it gets the proper nutrients. They take their time to care for those flowers and those plants to be as lustrous and as beautiful as they turn out to be in the end. But it takes the work. Did you hear the process of work that it took to get that beautiful flower or that lustrous plant? God was, He was tilling me. He was working me. Those tears were my watering. Those days when it was hard was Him tilling and turning my soil. God had to come in and turn over mindsets that I had. He had to come in and disrupt and disturb my patterns, my pattern of trust, my pattern of belief. God had to come in, and sometimes He set me out in the sun and it was hot. Those were the moments when it felt like the heat was turned up and the pressure was on to deliver, but everything that could go wrong was going wrong. But that was Him actually putting me in the sun to get the vitamin D. All of that I was feeling was vitamins being deposited into me, like perseverance, like tenacity, like faith and trust, confidence. Everything that I was feeling that opposed, oh God, Holy Spirit, everything that I was feeling internally that opposed the will of God in my life for this assignment, for this ministry work, God had to go in and turn the soil, allow me to cry so I could be watered, allow me to feel the heat, the pressure, setting me outside in the sun to get my vitamin D. The times He would hold me and speak to me, sing over me. He was nurturing me because now, ending season 1, if you watch video 1 all the way up to the very last one that I did with Phyllis Ginsburg, I have changed tremendously. The look has changed. The more that I learn, the more that I'm changing. The things that I am learning to grow my channel, but to nurture and connect with my community. What I love about God is when He gives you an assignment, whether it's to start a business, to write a book, to go after a promotion at your job, to start a new career, to become a parent, to get married, to walk away from a relationship, to start a ministry. Whatever God gives you as an assignment, you tend to think it's about the end result of that assignment. Start a business, okay? So you can start a business and become an entrepreneur and create your own stream of income. It actually begins with what He's going to do in you throughout the process of it. That is where most of us we get afraid. That's where people become afraid. They get scared because it's a lot of development in that process. It's a lot of growth. It's a lot of learning. There are a lot of mistakes, if you're going to look at them as mistakes. A lot of mistakes that will be made. And when things happen in a way that you think they shouldn't, all of these things are building you as you're building in your assignment. They're building you in your assignment as your assignment is being built, as it's being built out, as it's being walked out. But it doesn't look like that. what it looks like as I'm failing, I'm making a mistake. I'm not good enough for this. Who am I to think I can do this? Who am I to think that I'm successful? Who am I to think that I can be successful? Who am I to think that I can be the one out of my family, in my town, in my generation, in my class to do? I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes. I don't have the money. I don't have the relationship. I don't have the knowledge base. Those things come and they give us these excuses and reasons not to continue, and they foster the fear that we have, and so we quit. It must not be God. I knew this was a mistake. I knew I should have never trusted. I'm going to go back to I'm going to go back to my 9 to 5. Shout out if you got a 9 to 5. I'm filing for bankruptcy. Oh, I'm done. Going forward, my prayer is that we take with us, if it's not going right, it's going right. If I started the business that God told me to start, if I began the book that He told me to write, if I moved to the city or state that He told me to go to, and it's not going right, then it's going right. And then what I do is I begin to pray. What is it that you're teaching me during this level, during this part, during this season? What am I supposed to be learning? What is it that you're building in me? You know what? This is going to be a part 1 and a part 2, because I know the Holy Spirit is leading this conversation to go this way. So this is going to be a part 1 and 2. I'm going to let this cook. I'm going to let this cook. But I pray and I ask God, what is it that you're teaching me about me? What are you showing me? What is it that I need to learn? And you learn all that you can during that time, no matter what you're going to do, because things are constantly changing. When it comes to social media, when it comes to technology, things are constantly changing. On your jobs, those that are going into entrepreneurship, things are changing. So don't come into it because this is an area that you're very proficient in and think that I don't need to know anything else. I'm going to come in with this and I'm on that thing. Come in with your knowledge, come in with your skill set, but don't be in your good feelings when you realize, oh, wait a minute now. Let me go brush up on this a little bit. Let me go and watch a YouTube video or two, or 10 or 15. Let me go read a book. Let me take a course or a class. Let me go to a coach. Let me go learn what I need to know to be even more proficient. Another thing I'd say is, don't be afraid to ask for help, but don't be let down when help doesn't come. We want to go to family and friends because you think they're going to support you. Some of them will, but it's going to be down the road when they see other people jumping on board, when they see the success kicking in. Some of them won't, because it's just not their thing. And it got nothing to do with them. That's on you. And some of them were just never going to. And you're going to learn that too. You're going to learn that too. Going up sometimes shows you who you have to leave behind. And it's not because you want to, it's because you have to, number one. And number two, you realize they were never there with you. So you have to leave dead weight. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but it becomes something that you carry that is dead, which makes it extra heavy, which means you're trying to prolong a relationship that should have already ended. I digress. The last thing on this I will say is, keep going to God to find out what areas do you need improvement in. If I'm getting frustrated every time the computer crashes, every time it doesn't upload, and I can't get my episode on the day that it's scheduled. Yeah, humanly, that is a frustrating thing. You want to be a person of your word. You want to be consistent and accountable. But, okay, is there fear in me that if I don't do it, I'm going to lose the audience? Is there fear in me that people are going to look at me as a liar because I'm not consistent? Is there fear in me that if I don't do it, it's not going to be done? And if those things are yes, what's the root based in that? For me, the root was based in lack of full trust, lack of full trust in God, lack of full trust in myself. And it also had something to do with ego. If I gave you this assignment and I'm working through you and I'm using your mouth to speak to my people, I'm meeting them where they are to help them out. How does this become so much about you? So while we deal with that, we're going to also deal with your level of trust in me. We're going to also deal with your level of self doubt in you. Like, do you see where I'm going with this? That can sound scary to some people, but y'all, if I tell you the worth of the worth it, it's so worth it. Because as God began to work on these things in me, you can see the change that was taking place in me over the course of season one. From that first episode where I was terrified and crying, ministering at the same time, to today's episode. This is what you call comfortable because I'm resting in the power of God. I prayed, God, tell me, show me, what should I say? I got an outline of everything I wanted to talk about. But at the same time, I'm like, God, you give me the words. You have your way. Because again, I didn't create y'all. He did. I want him to speak to all of us. He knows what we need to hear. Look at what we're doing. This is gonna be a part one and a two. That's letting God lead. That's still doing my part. I put my faith to work. I got the outline. I prepared, but I'm still open and available for what God wants to do and how He wants to do it. Feel where I'm going with that? Feeling burnt out, stressed, overwhelmed, and overworked. Well, imagine yourself escaping to a place where you can truly relax and recharge. A place where stress melts away and your only worry is which beach to visit next. I'm Nikki Johnson, the host of the Daily Becoming podcast, and I want to help you uncover the magic of travel as part of your self-care, a vital part. Travel isn't a luxury that's just for the wealthy. And I know, may seem out of reach, but whether you're a single mother, living on a fixed income, or just dreaming of your next vacation, you can save up to 70% off on amazing getaways, unforgettable experiences, and memories that will last a lifetime. Affordable and absolutely tangible. These vacations aren't dreams. They are real opportunities to rejuvenate, explore vibrant cities, and have an incredibly great time doing it. Are you ready to start your self-care journey? Text self-care to 650-881-4402 and discover how you can travel more, spend less, and live better. Your perfect getaway is just a text away. Text self-care to 650-881-4402 now to discover how affordable self-care through travel can be. Because you deserve to take care of yourself without breaking the bank. And now, back to the show. I learned was that it was okay being honest, vulnerable, real, and raw. I told y'all when I would come back after and not see me for a week or two what was going on in my life. I'd let you know what was happening. I was always and will forever be real, raw, and transparent because, what's too personal and private between me and God, I got wisdom enough to keep that between me and God. But transparency and openness and vulnerability is how I'm able to do this. If I had to come on and be somebody else, I wouldn't have made it past the first episode. I too am becoming. This is a journey for all of us. Part of becoming was unbecoming. I had to unlearn. I had to unbecome. I had to stop doing some things. I had to start doing other things to unbecome and become. In the process of that, the things that were happening in life, I gave myself by the power of the Holy Spirit, because it was a battle even with that. I gave myself permission to say, I can't do it this week. I've tried to get this episode up 3 times. It's just not going. You know what? Let me pause. Let me rest. And it's okay. It'll go up the following week. And that, ooh, that set me free in so many areas, y'all. That set me free. Now, algorithm wise, it may not have been the best thing because I wasn't uploading consistently every single week. Most weeks, yes. Some weeks I didn't. But mentally and internally, because the algorithm don't care about what was going on in my life. Algorithm don't care about that. The algorithm did not care about the work that I do in affordable housing, hitting a height that I had never seen it hit since I've been doing this work. And going through all of the things that we went through, there were days of full tears because of what my community was experiencing. People being displaced. I mean, it was so much. There were some times when I recorded this episode with the heaviest heart, and you didn't know it. But I needed the episode just to get me through the week. And then there were times when I had to scrap it because I couldn't stop crying. Just the weight. And so giving myself permission to just have self-care days for my mental health. Self-care days where I just needed to release. Self-care days where I just needed to sit with God. I didn't need to be talking. I needed to be sitting. So from that, I hope you take away that you give yourself permission to be real and to be vulnerable and to take care of you. And now, mind you, I wanted to be at a certain number of subscribers by the end of season 1. I wanted to be at a certain number of views by the end of season 1. What good would it have been to gain the whole world, but have lost myself? It was episode 9 where I talked about realize I had never grieved. Episode 9, if you watch that, you'll look in the background and you'll see it's, I think, like on the right side of my shoulder, you'll see my baby in her bed. I recorded that after realizing there were so many things that had happened that I had not stopped and just grieved. I was just going and working and on autopilot. That episode I know was going to be intentional for my own life in different ways, not just to pause and allow my body to grieve and release so I can move on. But I recorded that not knowing that she was going to be soon taking her last breath. So I was preparing myself to when this happens, you're going to grieve this time. We're not going backwards. Because I had done the video and then she ends up passing away shortly after, I was constantly reminded, remember what you told the DB fam? Remember what you said to them? My son told me, Mama, this time, make sure you grieve. Don't hold this in. Everybody that was comforting me and praying for me were saying the same thing. So God was constantly speaking to me. I had to grieve while still existing. And if you watch episode 9, you'll know that I hadn't really done that before. I may have shed tears. I may have had moments. Depression may have even come in, but I never just went through the full process. I just kept going. Autopilot was autopiloting. Okay. What I love about my colleagues, they knew. And they knew how much I loved her. They would say, before we begin this meeting, do we need to hold space for you? Are you okay? They would message me constantly, call me and say, because I co-chair one of the subcommittees and they wanted me to be in full presence, but they wanted to make sure I was good. That taught me something that I hadn't done for myself before. I was great making sure everybody else was good when they were grieving. I hadn't done it before. And I didn't realize when you need to grieve, sometimes you have to say no. You have to shut off from the world. And you have to take moments, sometimes days. So the lesson I hope you get from that is No matter what may be going on in your life, whether you're grieving the death of someone you love, whether you are grieving the ending or finality of a relationship that you thought was one thing that would be forever and it wasn't, whether you're grieving the reality that may be something that you had the last X amount of years, but God is saying going forward, we got to let it go. Maybe you're grieving the old you that you missed because she was more comfortable and she didn't have to deal with as much because she wasn't going after as much. Whatever it is, and maybe it's not even grief. Maybe it's just exhaustion in your body. Some of us are just tired. You're just tired. Maybe it's health. Maybe it's a diagnosis that you've been dealing with. Whatever it is, know that it's okay to give yourself permission to take breaks, to take pauses. Remember, we call them purposeful pauses. Purposeful pauses. I learned some phrases in this past season, and that was, I don't have the capacity for that today. Mentally, I just can't handle that right now. I'm not going to be available for that. No, I won't be able to make it. Sometimes it was just no. Sometimes it was, let me think about it, I'll get back with you. Sometimes it was just flat out honest. It's not a good moment. I'm not having a good day. It's hard for me right now. There's so much power in it. You'll be amazed at the people that can understand your honesty. You'd also be quite amazed at the beginning those who take it personally. But that's okay. That's okay. Because when you go and get you good, you come back better. If you've been enjoying this episode so far, I want you to join the DBP family. I'd love to have you become a family member. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you can always be notified when there's a new episode available and you can continue on this amazing journey that you started to becoming the best version of yourself. I love to talk to y'all down in the comments. I love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, and your questions. So go ahead and drop them below. And you can also send me an email if it's a little bit too personal that you don't want the world to know. Send it to me at dearlybecomingpod@gmail.com. And you know our motto here. We want to glow up together. So send this to someone else that needs to hear this. And now, back to the show. Another lesson that I learned, being very careful not to get caught up in social media hype, social media lingo, and not becoming high-minded, ego-driven. Now, you got to look at analytics and you have to know that algorithm and you need to know what the ins and the outs are of the different platforms. But you have to be cautious and careful that you're not getting caught up in the followers, in the following, in the numbers, that you forget the value that you were charged with bringing, the purpose that you were predestined to have in these platforms. I watched something that said, don't get so caught up in trying to have followers. Well, you need to be creating disciples. And I don't think disciples was the word that they used, but that's the word that God gave me, and I wrote that down. If I can find it, I will put the clip in. But I wrote that down and I asked God to forgive me because everything that I do is about building his kingdom. It's about helping people. It's about helping people get from being stuck to unstuck, from being chained to unchained, from being captive to being free. If it's one person, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. My job is to either plant or it's to water, but the increase comes from him. So trying to be consistent for the sake of being consistent for numbers so you can get in the algorithm so more people can see you, all that's well and that's good. But the consistency had to be about being consistent to deliver the message and the value that God has for us every week. Take a deep breath in that. because many of you are on journeys to build your social media platforms. And I'm so proud of us. I'm so proud of us because there's a lot of us out there doing it and wanting to be heard, wanting to catch up and wanting to give the best and have the best lighting and have the best makeup and look your best and all of these things so you think it will draw the people. I hope you take away from this that make sure you're good on the inside. Make sure you're staying before our Father to know what His will is, what He wants to download into you to meet them. But maybe your mission should be about building the kingdom and building disciples and nurturing your community and let God bring you the increase. Do all of the works that require you to do because it's going to match up to the faith that you have and you believe. We're not going to pray for something and sit back and do nothing. Make sure our motive and our heart is right. That's going to change the landscape of how your platforms look to you going forward. Be very cautious as well not to have comparisonitis. Here's a lesson that I learned. If I look at someone that is doing the same type of content, I can tend to gloss over their process of doing it, how they get to the end results, how long they may have been doing this. Now, I'm not going to lie, some people, they start in a day and they add thousands and thousands of followers before a month is up. But I really don't know their process to even getting to that. And it's really not my business for the purpose of comparing myself to them or comparing them to me. If I'm not gleaning from what they did to help me get better, then everything else, in my opinion, is frivolous and it's dangerous. It's dangerous to my own process and my own growth, to my own self-worth. People that I followed, one of them did like a behind the scenes. They have a team of people that's helping them. They have people that are doing edits, people that work their social media. They have managers. They have people that they can meet with to talk about what the content should be. They have people to help. I mean, they have a team. Shout out if you have a team. Big ups and respect. I honor you, queens. I honor you if you don't, you're doing it solo. But if I were to compare what I'm doing to somebody with a team, is that even fair? Is it even fair to myself? It actually belittles and undermines what God is doing in me because I know my team is coming. But if I'm looking at them and I'm like, well, God, why don't I? And why don't I? You got it's you. It's you and it's you. But that's just not all that you do. It's you on top of everything else that you do. Where is the gratitude in the fact that you're getting it done? Where is the celebration and the motivation coming from self and the reward, the self-congratulations that is getting done? You constantly improve, but then you also have to approve yourself. Approve while you improve. Now, it's not a good thing to compare myself to somebody else that's solo because we don't have the same life either. I was doing that. I'm up 12 hours, God, and it's not working. But I watch this person and they knocking out 2 and 3 episodes and they're on episode 60 or 70 in their first season. They haven't even been going. Stop the comparisonitis. That is deadly to your purpose, is deadly to your assignment. Most of all, is deadly to you and how you see yourself. It could cause something in you to die that no longer wants to try, that wants to give up, that wants to go back to what was comfortable and what wasn't scary. Detrimental. It's detrimental. It is detrimental to your personal purposeful assignment. It's detrimental to how you see yourself, your self views, as Phyllis taught us. So from this, the lesson that you take is stop comparing. Don't compare yourself to me. Oh my God, I love the people that would be like, oh, the episode was so amazing. I don't know how you do it. How do you do it? Y'all, listen, you don't want to know. Sometimes you don't want to know. Sometimes it's best not to know what's going on behind the scenes. Lastly, the personal transformations that I have had. You've heard me talk about some of the missteps. You've heard me talk about growth. change. You've seen it. I've transformed in my weight. I ended up gaining weight over the course of season one. I don't remember if I even went into depth in one of the episodes. I know I hit on it a bit, but I changed medications. That was a whole thing in of itself. I bulked up. And that got frustrating because I was working out and I was doing all the things that I should be doing, and it was going this way and not that way. That was a very confusing time. But in the process of that, my hair was breaking off when I changed that medicine, and it was everything from losing edges to hair, literally hair going from this long to this long in some spots. Thank God I don't have bald spots. And shout out to anybody that has, because you've been experiencing that as well, but it taught me to learn my 48-year-old body in a different way. Doctors have changed medicine on me before. I didn't experience this. I did not experience this. So I had to learn to be even more of a self advocate. I thought I was a pretty good one. But baby, self advocacy when it comes to your health and your doctors is incredibly important. Yes, they went to school. Yes, they have degrees. But baby, it's only one of you in the world. And you have to pay attention to your body and to everything. One of the medicines I had talked to her about, I told her what some things I was experiencing. And, she wanted to try for just a little bit longer, keep me updated, hit me up in your my chart. I had to take it further than that, y'all. I was in prayer. I watched what would happen. One of them, and I won't go into the name of it, not on this platform, but one of them, and shout out to my mom and sister if they're watching. I had to call them on the phone and get them to stay on the phone with me because the room would spin. I just opened up my eyes and it's like the whole. You ever been on a merry-go-round? And then you get off and everything is moving, your eyes, it would do that many times. This was the first time I had experienced it to the point where I couldn't get it to stop. If I just laid or I sat still with my eyes closed, took deep breaths, it would stop after like a few seconds. This went on for 20 minutes. And it got so bad, I was so weak, I thought I was going to all over the place. It was horrible. And we thought I was going to have to call 911. It was also doing things to my body physically. I began to research this medicine and it was like, what the what? And I said, God, I need you to keep me. Now, this is not me giving medical advice to anybody, period. So do not go back and say, Nikki told you to do nothing except be a great advocate for yourself. Talk to your doctors. Be a partner with them. Let them know what's going on with you. Pay attention to yourself. Okay, I digress. But for me, I said, God, I'm gonna need you to keep me. I gotta come off of this and see if any of those things stop. So when I go see her next month, I can tell her what happened. I took myself off of it. I stayed incredibly prayerful and did all the other things that I have to do. And again, this is not me giving you the advice to do this. I stopped experiencing that extreme, I'm gonna call it discombobulation, because baby, that was more than dizziness. The discombobulating dizziness. What was going on in my body had stopped. I could just go on and on. And I told her, never again will I ever take that. And she was like, you know what? I had heard, and there are some cases of, and it kind of it pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie, because when I was first talking to you about this, you didn't think to inform me of that. You didn't think to inform me of this when you put me on it. But I do get it. It's not an everybody thing. So they need to know what's working in your body. But I'm saying all that to say that was one of the transformations I went through. And I still had to come on camera as I'm battling my weight, as I'm battling what's going on with my hair, as I'm battling what's going on in my body. I still had to come on camera. That was huge when it comes to becoming and transforming, because It's okay to be real. It's okay to not be social media perfect. It's okay. There were some days I had on makeup and some I didn't. Some I put on a hat. Okay, I love hats. I love turbans. I love headgear. Some days I had it on, some days I didn't. There were times when I'd go back and edit a video and be like, oh, you could just see all the weight gain in my arms and in my face. But I still showed up again. Like, there was beauty in my imperfections. My imperfections are perfect. They're perfect. I'm still working on getting this weight off. I'm still working on becoming healthier and a healthier lifestyle. I'm still working on learning certain things that I have to take and do. I'm still working on managing having muscular dystrophy. I'm about to turn 49 in 2025. Like, it's okay. The biggest transformation for me in that area was, as I'm saying this, I'm realizing I've become comfortable in my own skin. And that skin may look differently at times. The skin may feel differently at times, but I'm loving me enough to see about me. I love that. Thank you, Lord. I'm loving me enough to see about me. I'm loving me enough to accept me so I can change me. My journey to becoming during this season, I have a saying at the end of every episode, and that's becoming is beautiful. I really learned this season that becoming is beautiful. Becoming the best version of me is a beautiful thing. It has come with some lows, some highs, some excruciating pain, and some extreme joys. This season came with some loss by way of death, by way of some friendships, by way of a much needed to end one ship. Yeah, it wasn't no relationship, child. That was a one ship. So all of it was beautiful. Believe it or not, you can find beauty in life in everything. And if I truly believe that all things work together, it may not feel like it in the moment. When I was crying and just ready to give up, it didn't feel like it in those moments. But it's creating this beautiful version of Tanika Shawan, aka Nikki, that I have fallen in love with. And I love her so much that there are just things I don't allow anymore to hurt her, ways of speaking to her, ways of speaking to herself, mindsets. I don't allow them to attack her, bring her down, tear her down, change the path that God has her on. Most of all, I don't allow them to stop her. Oof. Oof. So, dearly becoming, thank you for walking down this journey with me, going through the memories, the ups, the downs, the lessons, the losses, the epic fails. Well, I can't even call them epic fails because they were great lessons. So I'll say the epic lessons that had to be learned during some storms and tribulations, or the epic lessons that had to be learned while God was tilling and turning my soil. Dearly becoming, I appreciate you. I appreciate you for trusting me to lead and guide you on your journey to becoming your best self. There were moments he let me lead so I could tell you what I learned so it would become a tool for you to help you. But then there are moments I was walking right beside you. We were walking this thing together. We were literally discovering on the path together. We were picking up nuggets together. I'm so grateful for you. I will be back in March. I'm going to work on me to become an even better version of myself and to prepare and come back even greater in season 2. If you stay locked into this YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and hit the notification. You don't have to just come and watch and walk away. Please join the family. Please join my family. We're family, we're community. Let's lock in together and hope to still hear from you and talk to you And have you tell me what you're working on. Put that down in the comments. What's at least 2 things you're going to be working on? And lastly, I want to say to you, never forget how much God loves you, for sure. I hope by now you know how much I love you. Don't stop your journey, and give yourself grace. Honor yourself. Fall in love with you the same way you want to fall in love with someone else, or you want them to fall in love with you. I challenge you to fall in love with yourself even more so. And never forget that becoming is beautiful. I will see you guys on part 2. Leave me your thoughts down in the comment. What's at least one takeaway that you will take with you on today? I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.